Speaker placement was the number one consideration when piecing the control room together. This heavily influenced the seating position and the desk construction. The mixing position was tailored to how I will be seated at the desk once finished. The center of the speakers was matched to be the same height as my ears. These measurements were worked out with me sitting at a comfortable height on the studio chair that I will end up using in the studio. I drew all over the gyprock, it was unpainted at this stage, to get the measurements correct. Once I found the height that the speakers would sit, I used this as a reference to measure and construct the desk. I knew how the desk would function and what it would look like, but it wasn't until I found the speaker height that I could do some of the measurements and work out if the desk would fit into the space I had available. Fortunately, the desk did fit in the usable space and I was able to begin desk construction. If I had have built the desk before I worked out the speaker placement, I believe I would have either been sitting too high or too low for an optimal mixing position. I'm glad I spent the extra time getting my speaker placement correct. The desk itself is quite wide, so I had plenty of room to move them closer together or further apart. I had plenty of room to move. However, I did know that they would be quite far apart because I was sitting a reasonable distance from them due to the depth of the desk. I wanted to be sitting at the apex, the sweet spot of the triangle between the speakers and out to my ears. The distances between these 3 points need to be the same. I watched Rode Microphone's Studio Rescue series with Francis Buckley several times to learn what issues people had in small recording mixing spaces and how to overcome them. A big part of these videos is how to set up your speakers. That's what I base my speaker position and setup on. If you're wanting to learn more about this, go and check out those videos. Some acoustic treatment was applied. I placed some thin foam panels which line up with the center of the speakers on the walls. Also, above and below the foam, I've placed some irregular surfaces in the form of some foam garden wall decorative panels, which I painted the same color as the studio walls. This acoustic treatment absorbs or diffuses the sound that inevitably bounces off the wall due to the nature of the space, making the mixing position more precise and less muddy. I've also built acoustic panels and placed them in 2 of the corners to capture some of the sound which gathers in corners of the room. Directly behind my ears I placed some high frequency diffusers which I made to diffuse the sound bouncing off the back wall. These target the high-end frequencies and are an effective addition to the studio. I've had a similar setup in various locations over the years. A large room with wood floors, a study, and a small bedroom. However, this mixing position is the most controlled and pleasant place I've mixed it. Maybe it's because I paid attention to the acoustic treatment. Although, there will always be low-end issues as the room is quite narrow. I've managed to turn out some reasonable mixes from the studio. I hope this gives you an idea of the thought and care that I put into creating a good mixing space. I'm sure that there are things that I could do differently, but this has worked well for me and I'm pleased with the results.